A delightful composition called The Stroll, with pianist George Cable's, Hutcherson the composer on vibes, and from George Cable's contemporary recording, Cablevisions. And at the moment, George Cable's is in the Minnesota area, in Minneapolis at 26th and Nicollet. It's intermission at the Artist Quarter, and I'd like you to meet George Cable's. Welcome in.
Hi, Lake. It's good to be here.
Well, it's good to have you in town and performing in recital with Billy Peterson on bass and Kenny Horst on drums.
Yeah, it's really delightful. We're having a great time. It's a great audience here. I haven't been here for a while, and it's nice to be here for a few days. And it's the first time I've come on my own here to Minneapolis and stayed here for a few days, and I'm really enjoying it.
Well, that's good to
It
hear.
was just here one day.
Well, it's good to hear that you're enjoying the environment. You know, there's the smell of baseball in the air as we get closer to the World Series, and also the smell of football in the air in the Vikings and your team.
I like the Vikings, too.
You know, well, I'm glad you do. You know, I wanted to just pursue something with you. We with tongue-in-cheek, approached it, but is there any relationship to a position on a football team and the pianist in jazz?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I think that depending upon, maybe whose band it is and who's the drummer, maybe, what kind of band it is, but I think that the pianist can be kind of the quarterback. I mean, I like to think of the pianist as the glue, you know, especially if you have a horn player, because you're playing with the horn player and with the rhythm section. You're kind of in the middle. You have the rhythm, the harmony, and also you're playing some melody. So you kind of hold things together, and maybe you can lead the horn player or follow the horn player, depending upon what's happening, or do the same with the rhythm section. But I think of music and a band, especially a jazz band, as I think of it. I think it's a lot like a team, a sports team, a baseball, football, basketball team, because even maybe more football and basketball, because a little more there. I think there may be a little more room for improvisation, you know, when you're running plays. Somebody's chasing the quarterback out of the pocket, you know. But I really do think that when you play this music, it's kind of chancy because it's improvisation, and that's what makes it fun. And you really have to play as a team. You have to play together. You just can't go your own way. If you're going to make music work, you really have to play together and still play your own thing.
Well, let's focus on something else that you're a real part of, and that is George Cable's the pianist who is the composer, and you do write and create material. In fact, I'm going to, after we talk, we'll showcase your Helen song, which I think began between a football game and doing the dishes or something.
That is true.
That is true, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a true story. I did kind of felt guilty because I was watching a football game, and I kind of went on the other room during halftime because Alan was doing doing things like looking at the books, balancing the budget and stuff, and as to what was happening, if I could do something, and I thought it would be something that was a small household chore, that would take about 5 minutes, and I'd be through before halftime was over. But she said, "Why don't you write me a song?" So after the games, I went and I wrote that.
Well, speaking of the composer and the muse, the elusive melody Ellington was always constantly aware of. Are you plagued with the same? The elusive melody?
Yeah, elusive.
Or is the melody elusive?
I believe in melody, the elusive melody. No, I think what's elusive to me is that is the rhythm and the phrasing, because I believe in melody. I think that when you write a song, I think that it's good to write with simplicity, but without being simple. You know what I mean? But I think it's good to write with simplicity, and most of my compositions have odd amount of bars. I have an odd amount of bars, and I always notice that afterwards, and not before, and not during. I don't do that consciously. I try to do little things with the phrasing, so that there's something there's some kind of little hook that's there, but I try not to write completely symmetrically. I try to write melodically, but not symmetrically.
George Cable's the performer. That's another side. When you're out there like the quarterback, how do you, how do you describe that?
Well, I'll tell you, that's the most fun of all, is playing live, is playing at the moment, because this music, the kind of jazz we play is a lot of improvisation, and it's music of the moment. Even though we have structure and it's organized, every night what we play changes a bit, and like I say, I like to play with people. I get joy. I can't tell you how much joy I get from playing with good musicians, and it's not like playing with playing with a band, just playing yourself, and getting some guys to back you up. I don't really believe in it, because I spent a lot of my career as what's called a sideman, and sometimes people perceive a sideman as a backup musician, but I don't think that is an accurate description of a sideman. I think I was always thrilled with the bands of Miles Davis and John Coltrane, because even though it was Miles' band and John Coltrane's band, everybody in the band contributed, and it's jazz is group improvisation, so I really have more fun. I have more fun playing music, just playing and performing, than anything else in music. That's the best part of it. So,
George Cable's October 10th is the birth date of Thelonious Monk, and certainly you have a view of the kind of angular music that he performed and composed.
yes, actually, Thelonious Monk was my first idol. I never. He wasn't a musician that I really tried to copy. To copy. I want to play just like Monk. There was a moment where I did some things like Monk, but he's not one of those musicians that I really tried to copy, because Monk is truly an individual. But like I say, he was my first idol. And now that you mention it, on October 10th, there's going to be a Thelonious Monk night in San Francisco, and we're going to be performing there with Buddy Montgomery and Eddie Moore and Charlie Rouse and Don Cherry, and I think Jessica Williams is going to be there as well. So, Thelonious Monk is really special. He was a rhythmic genius and a melodic genius, and he, I think, came out of Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington was a very strong influence for Thelonious Monk. So, he's a very, very special person to me.
George Cables, I know it's intermission for you at the Artist Quarter, and you're about ready to go back on stand, and you'll be there Sunday night. There's one more set as of this very moment at the AQ, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday night.
Okay, thank you. I'll be here. I hope a lot of other people will be here too.
I hope your favorite team wins tomorrow or today.
Okay.
It is
well,
Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going to root for the Vikings, but because they're not going to be playing San Francisco, so I can root for the Vikings. I like the Vikings. But I live in San Francisco, and I must be true to my team.
You're a consummate diplomat, sir.
Okay.
And further, I would like to add, you just have warmed our hearts with your good comments.
Oh, thank you very much. It's really nice speaking with you, and being on the radio, and being here in Minneapolis. It's great.
Thank you.